Hello, welcome to my little talk about skincare and helping you discover a mindful skincare routine. So I'm just going to start out with a little bit of my story and how I got into skincare. So I grew up in the countryside, running around in nature, playing like in mud, making rose petal potions in my grandma's garden. But I always had sensitive skin, and I was always the kid that had the rash or had the eczema, or had the hay fever eyes, or always had something, and the ginger hair and the glasses. And so I was given a lot of skincare from my mum that was obviously given like by the doctor, and we just took this as, you know, verbatim whatever was written on the package, that would be good for my skin. So like I slathered all this stuff on, and no one ever really sort of stopped to think, well, why are we putting this on our skin? What's in it? Is it any good? Is it helping? It didn't really help my skin. So I had eczema, and it went into my 20s. I had eczema, then I had like acne and rosacea, and no one ever really stopped to sort of say to me, oh, is that any good, what you're putting on your skin? And I never stopped to ask that question until much later in my life. I think the advice I used to get in the 70s and the 80s and 90s was I just would follow the trend, follow the advert in the glossy magazine, go to the big department store, buy the creams from the ladies with the really thick makeup and in the white coats, thinking that because I spent a lot, it would work. So anyway, then I went on my journey in my life, went to art college, did some arty things, got a job doing design, worked in advertising, and then I decided that I hated advertising and I would go and train as a massage therapist. And as I started to learn about massage therapy, looking at my body and things that I'd put on my skin, I started to discover that my actual eczema and things started to go. So this was like a little wake-up call. And I started to become obsessed with what was on labels, looking at labels, looking for good ingredients, looking for bad ingredients. And I started to get a bit OCD about this. And then I couldn't find, because that was in probably early 2000, I couldn't find products that I could afford that were natural. So I started to make my own oils for my massage treatments. I started with 3 types. So I had like a stop, get ready, go. So if someone came to me and they were too hyper, like a bit ADHD, couldn't calm down, I'd give them the mindful oil, which had lavender and geranium and was very grounding. And then people that needed a bit more energy, I'd give them the powerful oil, which was energizing with ginger and sandalwood. And then the people that were in between, needed a bit of focus, I used to give them the wonderful oil, which was the in-between one. And what I used to find was all these lovely oils that I used, and my hands were, you know, massaging the oils into the skin, they started to help improve my skin health. And my clients reported on skin health. So there was obviously something there with the massage and the naturalness of the products that helped the skin. Right, I'm just going to go on a bit of a tangent. So what is the skin? We walk around all day covered in this, like the largest organ. We take it for granted. We've got about 2 meters squared, depending on your size, obviously not babies, of skin. What does it do? It does loads of things. So it holds us together, it holds us in. It's a protective, flexible barrier that protects us from germs, from microbes, from things that our body doesn't want inside it. It also lets things out, so it lets toxins out via sweat, and helps regulate our temperature. It tells us if we're too hot, tells us if we're too cold. We have these awesome cells called Merkel cells in our skin, and they're the ones that sense pressure. So we don't really think about, like, you know, something's pressing too hard. How do we know that? Our skin tells us that. It's very clever. So it also shows our well-being, and our skin is trying to tell us things quite often. It's saying, you're too tired, you're dehydrated, you had too much alcohol last night, or maybe you had too much sugar. So all these things can show on your skin, minor things, also major things. you know, things with the liver, you'll have a yellow tone. If you're anemic, you'll be more pale. So our skin is always communicating to us wellness and well-being. And I think when you have healthy skin, people sort of can see that you're healthy on the inside. So we know a lot about eating well and having health food, but what about health food for the skin? So the skincare industry in the 1950s took a turn for being chemically active, let's call it. So we came into the industrial age and chemists were right. So a lot of skincare was then created with things like synthetic chemicals, synthetic fragrances. And at the time, this was exciting and new and like, wow, look at this wash and go. This is awesome in a flip-top bottle and it smells of apple. And we all got a bit obsessed with like 2 for 1 in big chemists and more. Like our shelves in our bathroom had to be stocked with all these bottles. But actually, less is more with skincare. So there's lots of things in the mass-produced skincare that's in there for a reason. It needs to be mass-produced and therefore it needs to be stored somewhere. So it's going to have a lot of chemicals in it that are going to preserve it. So something that you buy tomorrow in Superdrug, for example, might have been in a warehouse for 2 years before that. So it's totally unnatural. A lot of it is like, I call it a dead product. So there's nothing in it that's nutritious for your skin, but it feels nice when you put it on because they want us to use it up and to go and buy more and perpetuate this system of wanting more, making our skin lazy because you're feeding it like fast food for the skin, rather than giving it something simple and natural that you can actually use less of. So I've digressed a bit from my notes. Another little note of things like, so petrochemicals, they are listed as things like mineral oil in a product. Sounds good, sounds exciting, mineral, but it's actually mineral oil is a byproduct of the petrochemical industry. When you put that on the skin, it actually feels lovely, but it creates like a cling film effect on the skin. So it stops the skin emitting the toxins, stops it doing its job, and you're tricking your skin into thinking that it's got enough natural oils on the barrier, so your skin gets lazier, so you then put more on, then your skin gets more lazy, so you get stuck in this cycle. So that's why sometimes when you switch to natural skincare, your skin sometimes has a bit of a crisis and can become more dry because you have to like go through it's not technically a detox, but it has to start working for itself again. It's got lazy and you need to like give it a boost. So I was just going to mention as well, like skincare began like in ancient Egypt. They used to use things like olive oil. Apparently they used ostrich eggs to like put on the skin to make them look like it got a nice tight facelift. And for like eye kohl, they used burnt almonds, which they mixed in with soot and lead. Lead's been in skincare a long time, obviously not good for us. It's still in some lipsticks today. So when you're choosing a lipstick, just check the ingredients. And on an ingredients label, less is more. So the more ingredients you can understand on the label, the better the product is going to be for your body. Okay, also another thing to consider about synthetic skincare is what happens to it, not just on the body, it can enter the bloodstream. Like medication can be applied to the skin, like Nicorette patches or things like that, you know, hormone things. So things enter the bloodstream via the skin. This is why it's important to use natural things on the skin, because your body takes the molecules into the bloodstream and they can affect your hormones, they can affect, they can cause allergies later in life because your body burden builds up. So every time you put on a synthetic, like toxic laden product, a small amount of these things enter your bloodstream. Every day you might put something on twice a day, then you will get to say 20 years down the line, and you then suddenly become allergic to that product because your body's just hit its limit. It said, no, no more body burden, that's built up. This is part of the reason why I went natural with my skincare, because I think as a child I had so many chemicals put on me that I just became allergic to normal skincare and I couldn't use it. And sensitive to synthetic fragrance. That's the notes there. So, how can we become more mindful about our skincare? What are some of the things we can consider rather than rushing in, buying that special offer, picking something up, liking the smell, but if you love it and it's synthetic, is it worth it? Like some smells like spark nostalgia, like lip balms or something, but if that scent is synthetic, we absorb some of it through our olfactory and it can affect our pituitary glands, which can then affect the hormones. So natural fragrances affect us in a beneficial way. Like, for example, essential oils, they have adaptogens in some of them. Adaptogens are really cool. They're in a lot of natural things and they help balance things out. So if you're feeling too wired, an adaptogen will help regulate and bring you back down. If your skin's feeling too dry, an adaptogen will create more natural oil by sending the skin messages to create more oil. If the skin's too oily, the adaptogen will send the skin message to reduce the oil. So these are natural and they're amazing. So let's take a step back. Let's think about the benefits of swapping to a natural skincare brands, make your own. Lots of things are available out there. Now let's remember that our skin only needs a few things. So it needs hydration, nourishment, and protection from the sun. So what I consider, if I wasn't using my own skincare, I would consider a brand by thinking about what are its values? Do they align with my values? So it's very easy to buy something because it's cheap, but why is it cheap? Is it because you're going to need to use a lot of it, get through it in a week, then get another one? It's a false economy. With natural things, it's an investment. You will use less and less rather than more and more. And, you know, it's a joy to use the natural products and you're getting the natural scents out of them. So, yeah, what are your values? Where do you want to spend your money? What's your financial footprint? Do you want to give to big brands? Do you want to support small brands or individuals? It's your choice, but it's just something to consider and to be mindful about. I like to invest in like sort of conscious brands. There's a big thing at the moment about vegan skincare. So there's a lot of vegan labeling on synthetic skincare. Now, synthetic skincare can be vegan. Vegan just means it's not tested on animals or it's not from animals. So it can be totally synthetic. So sometimes because something says vegan doesn't mean it's natural. So you need to decide what are the labels you want to look for. So you might want to be vegan, ethical and natural, or you might go, well, actually, I just want to be natural, or I want to be organic, GMO free. So there's lots of things you just think about and consider. Does the company have a social remit? Is it a social enterprise? Is that why you want to buy its products? And another thing to ask yourself when you're buying the skincare, do you really need it? Less is more. We don't need that much skincare. Okay, so when you then decide your values, you're going to pick up skincare, read the labels, look for things like, is it sustainable? Has it got is it locally made? Is it fair trade? Is it ethical? Look for fewer ingredients, things that you can understand. A lot of ingredients do have to be listed in Latin, so it's sometimes complicated. The longer the words, probably the more synthetic it is. Things like parabens, sulfates. There's a really long word begins with a mexi, hixy, something, da. If it's got a really long word beginning with M with an X in, avoid that one. Okay. Cruelty-free, that's another thing to consider. all my stuff is tested on me, and my ingredients are tested not on animals. Um, Things like, is it plant-based? Is it cold-pressed? Cold-pressed oils are amazing. And their packaging. So when you look at the packaging, is it fantastic? Is it fabulous? Is it like, wow, look at this packaging? Are you paying for that? And then the ingredients inside are like quite basic. Could you copy it yourself? Like you can make your own face oil, almond oil and coconut oil. You can use that to cleanse with. And things like hydrosol waters, really simple but very hydrating and lovely to use. Things like zero waste, less plastic packaging, and things like that. The other thing is I say smell it and feel it. So it's how you put it on. Like be mindful, like has it got that lovely smell, inhale it, put it on your face, and as you massage it in, just take a few moments to think about, you know, the day, unwind. Massage is really beneficial. So sometimes you have an expensive product, but you rush putting it on, you like put it on like this. Please don't put your skincare downwards. Go from the center of your face up and out. We work to the lymph nodes and the neck up and down the sides. So everything helps drain and encourage lymph flow, reduce puffiness. You can do tapping. And your knuckles, they're a great tool for massaging for jaw tension and headache tension across the forehead. I'm run out of time. So,
got a couple of minutes.
Let's do quick questions. Anyone want to quickly throw up a question for me? Last 2 minutes. Yes, the skin is the largest organ.
If no one's got any questions, I've got like
yes.
We've no need to
a few other things.
Now.
Yeah.
From experience of like I bought whatever like Nivea, that'll do, and I used to work with Suze, and she was like, "That's shit, don't use that."
I think I was like slightly more tactful, but yeah.
But then she said, convinced me to buy, and I one of hers, and I was like, "Cool, definitely, I'll go for it." And it came in this really small.
It was pot. Like comparing that to that size, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was like, size isn't everything. I was like, fine. And I and I went, right, okay. And I tried it, and it was way better. Like, yeah, all you were saying, like, less is more, is definitely true. And I've tried your products, and they are wicked, and they do work, and they're all made locally in London. And so, yeah, obviously, so UK based. So from a planet point of view, from an actual better product point of view, they're just way better than the shit you buy in Boots, basically. So do that.
There are a lot of big companies trying to jump on the green wagon. Some are doing better than others. But again, just because they have one good thing on the label like lavender oil doesn't mean everything is good in them. And just think about the values. And also you can make your own.
So it's just come in. It says...
hyaluronic acid, great question. Okay, so that is a naturally occurring in the skin. It hydrates, humectant, draws water towards it. If you look for it in skincare, I always make sure it says plant source, because some of it comes from animals and I don't want to use it from animals. It's a hydrator, draws water towards it. It's a lovely plumping thing for the skin.
Just to keep
aloe vera is an amazing natural product. It's been used for thousands of years. Just be careful. Sometimes the preservative you might be sensitive to, even if it says 99% aloe vera, you might be allergic to the preservative. Probably be fine. It's a very cooling, soothing product. It hasn't got any fat content, so it's not really moisturizing. It's more hydrating.
So,
Liz Earle.
Sorry, just one sec.
Liz Earle's quite good. I don't use her, but is she Australian? Yeah, I think she's got some lovely face oils in her range.
Suze, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you mind answering those questions in the chat whilst we start the next one?
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Round of applause to everybody.
Vulnerability is a muscle. The more you use it, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes.